Hello, this is Carolyn Bupert with the League of Women Voters of Portland. You're watching the video Voter's Guide, or you may be listening to it on podcast. We're here today to talk with candidates for the May 17, 2022 primary election. All the candidates running for this office were invited to participate. The length of the number of questions they answer the number of questions they are given will be related to the time it takes for them to answer the questions. In this process, we're grateful for the support of the Carol and Velma Sailing Foundation, the League of Women Voters of Portland Education Fund, the Weiss Foundation, and our media partner, Metro East Community Media. With me is Brian Setzler, who's running for Portland Auditor. Welcome, Mr. Setzler.
Thank you for having me. Thanks for putting this on. It's a great public service.
You're welcome. Please tell us a little about yourself, including why you decided to run for this office.
So I decided to run for this office because I was approached by people in the community. It didn't look like anybody was going to run, and I did a little research, and I thought my values, my expertise, my experience would be great, would be just in what Portland needs at this time. I think we all believe that Portland's on the wrong track, and I am looking to bring my expertise, my experience, my knowledge, and my background and my values to help get Portland back on track again. I'm looking to bring a fresh, independent perspective to the auditor's office.
Thank you. Which of the three certifications required to run for auditor, public accountant, internal audit, or certified management accountant do you hold, and how does that qualification and your auditing experience make you a good fit to be Portland's auditor?
Well, that's a great question, and I appreciate that one. I'm a certified public accountant and have been an Oregon certified public accountant for 30 years. Certified public accountant is the top credential in this profession. It's the only one that has the word public in its title. It's the most rigorous credential. I have audit experience as a Washington State Department of Revenue auditor. I've been an internal auditor for a private company. And I've also had two positions where I've been an auditor for international Big 8 accounting firms.
Thank you. A core function of the auditor's office is performance audits. What would be your selection criteria in deciding which bureau programs would benefit from a performance review?
Performance auditing is a type of auditing where we're evaluating things just besides financial numbers, but really performance, as the name suggests, of how programs are doing and all that. The question was about criteria. One of the things I plan to do when I get into the office is to make the criteria that we're using to select audits much more transparent. And I think that'll help increase trust in the process of what we're doing. I've heard a lot of, when I've talked to people in the community and organizations and labor business organizations, there's been a lack of understanding of how audits were selected and what criteria were used. I plan to use something what's called a decision matrix to line up the criteria we're using to make the decisions on audits so that people have trust that selection criteria is being made with, and how it's being made, and that it's being made fairly.
Thank you. You're watching the video Voter's Guide or listening to the podcast, and we're with Brian Setzler, who's running for Portland Auditor. What would be your strategies to increase confidence in audit findings within the bureaus subject to the audits with the City Council and the public?
Well, I think you increase trust by bringing independence, integrity, objectivity, and transparency to the audits and what we do. And that's the cornerstone of the certified public accounting profession and really the responsibility of audits. I was reading some audits this morning in the past, and I was disappointed in that there's something in management accounting. I also have an MBA in sustainable business in management where you look at plan, do, check, act. It's called the Deming cycle for continuous improvement. And I think we've fallen down on that. The planning and the doing is what the city council does. The planning, the doing is what the bureaus do. The checking is what the auditor does. And then I think there's a disconnect between the auditor's findings and what kind of actions are being taken thereafter. And then that's a cycle that should be repeated regularly so that you can have continuous improvement. I look at some audits that were done in like 2004 and 2011 and again in 2021, and they're bringing up the same issues. And we just don't have the time or the luxury to be wasting resources and not expecting government to be performing at their best.
Thank you. Please discuss the recommendations from a recent audit review that would be particularly important to your follow-up as a new auditor.
I was reading about a couple this morning on, one was on building permits and the length of time. It had a number of recommendations and a number of findings, but we have a housing crisis, and how are we getting building permits through the process and issued so that new houses can be constructed. One of the problems that was found by the current auditor was that that process flows through 7 bureaus, and no one bureau has total oversight over the process. There were some recommendations there, and I'd like to follow up to see if those recommendations have been implemented, and so that we can speed up the building of housing. Homelessness is one of the number one things that we face as a city that we just have to address effectively and compassionately.
Thank you. And we just have probably 20 more seconds, but what changes would you institute if elected auditor, and why?
One of the things, just as a quick answer, would be that plan, do, check, act model of continuous improvement. I think we need to expect more from our government, that we need to not conduct business as usual, and I'm the person to do that.
Thank you, Mr. Setzler. This concludes our video voters guide and podcast interview for Brian Setzler, running for Portland Auditor. Election day is Tuesday, May 17th. Thank you for taking this opportunity to inform yourself, and I hope you'll tell your family and friends about this resource. For more information on the primary election and this race, visit our website, vote411.org, or our other website, www.lwvpdx.org. Thank you.